if you want to get this working, what you need to do is you download Revive from the link I put in the video description. You extract the files in the Dirt Rally folder, and then this is the step that a lot of people are missing and getting a little bit confused on. You drag the Dirt Rally exe over the top of the X64 exe for the Revive exe, and that will launch the game. You need to make sure that SteamVR is actually on before you do this as well, and that will launch Dirt Rally into SteamVR and let you use the Vive on it. Now, because we've obviously tried this with the Rift first, and it's pretty bloody fantastic. And after a bit of experimentation with the Vive, it's pretty much exactly the same, apart from the fact that you can't lean on asynchronous time warp so much. So what I'm going to do in this video, given that we know Dirt Rally is bloody fantastic in VR, and it does work with the Vive perfectly fine, what I want to focus on a little bit are some of the visual settings. For those of you with slightly slower computers, or those of you with moderately fast computers, you want to have everything run as best possible with as few issues or with as low a likelihood that you'll drop below the vital 90 frames a second. So, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'll load into the custom event. Well, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to go to the custom event. I'm going to load into the event that we did with the Rift. I was doing a bit of side-by-side comparisons on exactly the same track, exactly the same settings, just so I could get an idea of what it was like with either headset. What is actually really noticeable with the Vive, the scale is slightly different, but it actually feels better on the Vive in this case with the scale. Normally, with Revive and games that sort of have hacked Vive support, the scale on the Vive is normally a little bit smaller than on the Rift. Obviously, if it's a design for Vive game like Virtual Pool VR, it's all one-to-one and perfect. There's no problem. It is worth bearing in mind that these drivers are a sort of intermediary, thanks to Cross VR being insane and doing all this support for us. But so the scale actually seems slightly better to me on the Vive, and also I noticed that the image seems a bit more crisp on the Vive. I always find I feel a bit more presence with the Vive than the Rift, partly because the image has a crispness to it, but also the screen is a lot brighter in the Vive. So the downside, as I say though, is the Vive doesn't have asynchronous time warp, and reprojection, when I've tested it with this, causes the occasional crash. So it's better to have reprojection off and just make sure that you hit that 90 FPS constantly. So in terms of settings that will get the game running fast with minimal visual impact, and to be honest, with the VR, with these settings, when I had it on the high set, all on ultra before, with these settings, it's actually not that much of a visual difference. So I'll go to the quality settings. I'll show you what settings we've got it on. I've got the night lighting on medium. I haven't done a night stage yet. Shadows on medium. You can actually flick through some of these and see how they affect it in game, because Codemasters, I think this is their Eden game engine, or it's an advancement on it. They developed this game engine years ago with the first Operation Flashpoint game they did, and then since then I think they've been building on it. But it's a good engine in terms of you can change settings on the fly and see what they're doing. Just put the shadows on medium. You notice that high makes it looks nice. Medium, they're a bit a little bit mucky in terms of the edges. But when you put it on ultra, that's a massive frame rate impact without that much of a difference visually. I found medium is perfectly fine. Advanced fog, we got off. Particles we got on medium. Weather high. Crowd ultra low. Again, ultra low basically makes the crowd 2D. But when you're pelting along the countryside like a lunatic, you can't notice them. We flick through here. Ultra low, they're sort of 2D cutouts. A little bit of transparency on them. And then that makes them 3D on low, and then medium. And the crowds have a big impact on frame rate, especially when you come around a corner and there's a couple of hundred people in some of the stages. The German stages especially. Ultra low, though, gives you the effect of the crowd being there. But because they're 2D, they have almost no impact on your performance. You can obviously just turn them off, but I like them on low because it makes the stages feel populated and real. Ultra low is perfectly fine. Cloth I've got on low. If you have it on off, you lose all the little railings and bit of what they call like tape to guide you around the track, so it actually affects your gameplay if you turn it off. So you probably want it on low, and it seems to run fine with that. Ambient occlusion on low. Advanced ambient occlusion is off. I haven't really noticed that much of a difference with ambient occlusion. Mirrors are put on low because you barely ever use them, apart from when you accidentally drive into a tree. Ground cover, again, low. It is nice to have that on higher, but, it doesn't really affect gameplay that much. But I put it on low, and it's perfectly fine. If you put it on high, it really affects frame rate. Put it on off, you can't see anything at all. So low's fine. It's more like the draw distance for stuff like you see little bits of fern and bracken. On the more open areas, you notice it more going into the distance. But you can, it's perfectly fine with it on low. Vehicle details on medium. That doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. The cockpit looks fine. Track is on medium. Again, that doesn't make that much of a difference. It will depend from location to location. Trees on medium. You'll notice if you put them on ultra low, they look terrible. It looks like some kind of PlayStation 1 game. Medium gets you 3D trees that look pretty decent. They do the job. And when you're bombing along again, you won't notice it. And as you start putting the detail up, you'll notice it basically increases the detail distance. So the quality is higher than distance. And I think it also increases the population of the objects. To be honest, medium is sort of the ideal, I'd say, because you get the 3D trees and they do the effect, and because the VR draw distance isn't amazing, well, the draw distance is the same, but because the quality of the VR, the resolution isn't amazing, you don't notice it going into the distance as much as you would on a 2D screen. Objects have got a medium. Again, it's hard to see how that affects things. It's mostly just like little rocks and what have you on the floor. Vehicle reflection is low. Water is on high. There's hardly any water in the game, and it's not that advanced, so it doesn't really matter too much. Skid marks on, and texture detail is on ultra, because texture detail doesn't tend to affect frame rate that much. Some games it does, but in this it doesn't. And most games, if you've got a modern, like a sort of 900 series NVIDIA graphics card, texture detail you can normally just whack all the way up without too much of a frame rate effect. Shader detail we've got a medium. You can fiddle with that. I found medium to be a sort of happy in between. Didn't seem to make too much difference. Anisotropic filtering actually has a massive effect in VR. Well, I say massive, quite a large effect in the anisotropic filtering. Is how the textures are filtered, stuff like mip mapping and things. So basically, if you put it on ultra, you get nice crisp textures in the cockpit, and you notice it in VR. And also the road surface looks a lot more crisp with it on ultra. Most games, anisotropic filtering doesn't actually use that much power. It's not likely to cost you that many frames when you're running a game. So I just stuck that on ultra, and I think it's well worth keeping on ultra because it gets a little bit more crispness, which makes up again for aspects of VR which are a little bit lacking at this point in time. Smoke shadows are on. I can just turn them off. We don't need that. I'm not sure what impact that is. These tracks, it doesn't make too much difference. Probably in dusk, I need to try that out. I haven't actually tried that out to make an informed opinion on that, but I doubt it'll have a massive effect, but it'll be worth fiddling with. I think Finland has a lot of like little fires and stuff, and some stages you have the smoke and the lighting coming through it, so it might be nicer to leave that on. Advanced blending is off. So there you go, that's the graphics settings. Hope you're still with me and you haven't died of boredom. But what we'll do then now is, we've got the video modes. From what I understand, the video modes on here don't affect the what's going out onto your head-mounted display with the Vive at least. What it does affect is the view on your screen, the sort of mirror view, and you might as well just turn this all the way down. Now, I haven't fully experimented with this. This is partly going by what I've read from other people doing. I fiddled with it a little bit and didn't notice too much difference on the head-mounted display. So what I'd recommend doing is just turning all these down. V-Sync's off, refresh rate, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's not affecting the head-mounted display, and it's just affecting the mirror view on the screen. So you might as well just turn it as low as possible. Full screen you might as well keep off. Multi-sampling off. It's all fine. That does the job. Actually, multi-sampling will affect what's on the head-mounted display. Though I think you need to. There you go. It does affect what's on the HMD, but if you put multi-sampling on, it starts looking. Starts really hammering your graphics card. So that's something you're going to want to leave unless you've got a you know, a really fast computer and a really decent graphics card. Strangely, with the settings that I've got on at the moment, it's not actually that the aliasing isn't that prominent. It's a lot more crisp than Assetto Corsa with default settings, for example, and that's just running on render target on 1.0. So this is all. I'm going to just put this on 1920 by 1080 and see what happens here. Is that affecting the resolution? Let's have a look. No, I don't think it is. So video mode is not affecting the resolution, but the multi-sampling does affect it. Obviously, it puts AA onto the image at the cost of you needing a beast of a computer. So that's the graphics settings. You can obviously save a preset in case you're going to go from your screen, or you can choose a preset. I think you can save presets. No, you can't. They've got presets there. I thought you could save a preset, which would be handy if you're going back to your screen. But to be honest, why would you ever want to play a driving game on a screen when you've got VR? But there we go. So that's the graphics settings. Thanks for watching this video. It's gone on a little bit, so I'm stopping it here, and then we're going to jump into another video and do a direct comparison between the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift. Hope this video helps you get your settings running faster and help those of you that couldn't get the game to work on the Vive. I'll see you in the next video we do. Until then, goodbye.